we might be looking at possibly one of the best adaptations of a JJK series that this has to offer so far. Now, call me biased here, but my man Yuji will forever and always have my backing, but Yuji vs Choso is easily a top 5 fight for me in the series, maybe even top 3 by the end of the series. I'm not sure, I'll let you know. But last year when I first made this channel, I made this short gassing up this fight and talking about how excited I was for this exact moment for it to be animated. And now we're here, and having just watched the fight, I can say hand on heart, Mappa knocked this shit out the fucking park. Everything that happens within this fight was a genuine work of art, a literal love letter. The soundtrack, which I couldn't help but think kind of reminded me a little bit of Bring Me the Horizon a little bit, which felt kind of fun for me, you know, being an edgy little goth lord back in the day. But good lord, man, Mappa really went ham on this fight, and I just wanted to talk about it. I just wanted to talk about how excited it made me feel and just go over things that I really fucking loved about this fight. First things first is the choreography. The choreography within this episode was truly sublime. It was sublime. I think it's not hard to stretch and say that Gege's action panels and choreography within the manga are widely regarded as some of the best and most unique and well choreographed fights within the current generation of manga. The only thing that I think that tops it off the top of my head is most likely Sakamoto Days. So if you've read both of those two and you know the comparisons, then you'll know Sakamoto Days takes the piss when it comes to choreography and the fights. So seeing Mappa nail this fight sequence and capture the fluidity, the motion, the rapid pace of the fight between these two, it was generally an unreal feeling. Like, you can feel every punch and kick and footstep and attack being launched, and there's so many little beautiful details and references, like Yuji flying down the stairs at breakneck speed and bouncing off a street sign and making the sign wobble slightly when he does that. It's unreal. And this is probably one of the most commonly pointed out references here, but there's this little sequence, and it is a direct reference to the Raid film, and Gege does things like this all the time with his fights where he pays tribute to other great franchises and series like Hunter x Hunter and Yu Yu Hakusho, and those two are the big ones in this department. There's obviously more. Naruto and Bleach are obviously little references and hints and tricks all the way throughout the series there, but there also just happens to be that Mappa recreated a nice little reference from season 1, that famous Black Flash sequence that Yuji hit on Choso's brothers back in the day, even going slightly into that same musical score within this episode, only to just abruptly end it with Choso tanking the punch and ending Yuji's run. And the callback of Mappa just cheekily throwing that little reference in there as if, like, say, okay, you're fighting the elder brother now, but it's not going the way you want. It was mwah, chef's kiss. But references aside, the way Choso's blood manipulation looked within this episode, within this fight, visually stunning. Visually stunning. Choso's opening blast of piercing blood within the manga, it was just that. It was just a piercing blood. However, here in the anime, Mappa went above and beyond to demonstrate just how powerful and how brutal and how precise this attack is by showing it carving through steel and concrete or to the street level above, cutting through a street sign on the side of the road. And it was a nice little detail here. It just shows you the power behind the attack. And I'm also a big fan, by the way, of the rearrangement of the events within the manga compared to the anime here, because you see Choso and Yuji's fight within the manga is actually broken up by Mei's fight with the smallpox deity, which we saw in the last episode here. But in this episode, we get just a full 20 minutes of straight hands from Yuji and Choso here. And then there's the lighting. The lighting within this episode was just unreal. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm a little bit of a slut for some bright colors. I'm like a bumblebee. I'm attracted to bright and colorful palettes in contrast of dark, bleak backgrounds. It's one of the reasons that I love Cyberpunk 2077 so much, is because of the color palettes. And the color palette within this episode was just unreal. It was this kaleidoscopic blast of pinks, reds, blues, oranges, and it was just beautiful, all in contrast with just this dimly lit subway. And Mappa used the lights and the signs as clever little ways to show Choso's case technique. For example, this segment right here where Mekamaru is explaining Choso's case technique, or at least giving us the rundown on it. On the wall we see these neon signs with symbols that all sort of loosely represent what Choso's technique does. The arrow being piercing blood, the yellow being the knife that Choso made to stab Yuji's feet, the green being supernova, and then there's the blue and purple ones, which I'm not entirely sure about. Probably they are definitely references to Choso's abilities, but I can't off the top of my head think of what they are, so I'll leave you in the comments down below to figure that one out. Only do they do this, they added just this sign of an arrow that dropped in front of Choso at this point, and it came from like an earlier attack, and right after this sign drops, it's pointing towards Yuji, and Choso moves forward to press the attack, and it's insane. And on top of all of this, it's the voice acting. The voice acting was just truly sublime. Like, truly. Without going into crazy spoiler territory, Choso ends up becoming one of the most well-developed side characters within the series, and the fact that the voice actor for Choso, Daisuke Namikawa, went above and beyond for this role, it just shows the dedication. Choso's breakdown and raw emotion in the later half of this episode made me realize that this season continues to be and will get even better, and we'll just get to see how capable this man is for the role. But we also can't forget about Yuji's voice actor Enoki Jr. and the narrator Yoshiko Sakaibara, because obviously I don't really need to say much about Yuji's voice actor. They are doing a phenomenal job, and he's only continuing to just get more and more impressive. I know there was this behind the scenes photo shared of him acting out a specific scene where he's crying, and Junior is just, he's gonna kill it. I just know for a fact he is. But what really topped it for me in this specific episode was the narrator. I know for me personally, a good narrator can really just elevate a series. For example, Hunter x Hunter is the perfect example of this. The narrator within that series was phenomenal, and so far season 2 has truly done something special for me personally. I was a bit worried about the lack of a narrator, because just before the series aired, we didn't even have confirmation of whether that was happening, so I was very, very scared and skeptical over that, because for me, within the manga, the narrator just helps tie up all of these beautiful little details, and it just helps the series flow together smoothly. But overall, Mappa truly did this fight justice, and I can't explain to you as a long-time fan of the series just how happy I am with this adaptation. However, I will say, and this is not a nitpick, I just want to say, this one little sequence right here, it just looked goofy. I can't help it. What happened to Yuji's hand here? I know hands are hard to draw and all of that, and I'd get if it was like mid-movement, but it just, this one thing, it just looks so strange to me, and it was funny. It's not a nitpick. The overall episode was beautiful, and this one hand frame doesn't take away from anything funny. There's always little bits within perfect animation that always just looks goofy if you pause it at the right moment and you look at things like that. But it just caught my eye, and I was like, that looks kind of funny. I want to talk about that. But I did hear, apparently, that Mappa only finished production of this episode literally yesterday. And if that's true, God fucking bless, because holy shit, the episode looked this good and production only finished yesterday. That's phenomenal. Like, that's truly phenomenal. But that's that's all from me. I just wanted to talk about the episode. I wanted to talk about this because truly I've been looking forward to this one. As always, I appreciate you guys watching. If you haven't already, please be sure to like and subscribe, as it always does help me out. And as always, I will catch you guys all in the next one. Much love, big kisses, peace.